How you doing? Paul O'Sullivan here, based in Blessington, County Wicklow in Ireland. Just making another short video about my book, Same Shit, Different Day, Breaking the Patterns That Make Us Miserable, and it's a metaphysical approach to well-being. It's available on Amazon and Kindle in ebook and paperback form, and it's available in Texaco Garage on the N81 here in Blessington, and there was one copy left on the counter there yesterday. So this video is about self-esteem. I discovered about 10 years ago that I had low self-esteem. I didn't realize anything about self-esteem issues before that. I wasn't aware of it. My early experiences were growing up. It's your self-esteem it's your thoughts you're telling yourself, and it's the emotional evaluation of yourself, and it's the stories you're telling yourself, and it's the judgments you're making on yourself makes you have good self-esteem or low self-esteem. And I had low self-esteem. I didn't feel wanted growing up. And the story I told myself was that I wasn't good enough. I was ugly, I was stupid, and I would just fail. And they were the things I kind of told myself growing up, you know. So when I got into the world of work, then what would happen is we're like energy transmitters and receivers. I've mentioned that before. And I started transmitting that message to everyone that I'm not good enough, you know. But basically, I've got doormat written on my back, you know. And that was the story of my life back then. People would just start bullying me, and I could never quite figure it out, you know. And I'd leave that job and I'd go into another job, and then someone else would bully me. So one minute be a co-worker, next minute be a boss or something. And I couldn't figure it. I just kept leaving jobs back in those early days, you know. I went back to school. I left school at 15 as well, you know, because I had low self-esteem, didn't feel good enough to stay in school, you know. And then because I'd left, I went back in my 20s then and did a few more courses. But again, my low self-esteem wouldn't allow me to kind of go further, because I was afraid of, I suppose I was afraid of succeeding, but I was afraid of the responsibility of trying to succeed, because, you know, trying to succeed in something requires an awful lot of energy and effort. And I hadn't got that back then, you know. You have to have a little bit of confidence in yourself, you know, and I didn't have that. So I'd go and do a course, but wouldn't go any further. And then I'd go and try another course, but I wouldn't go any further, you know, and that was my life back then, you know. And then things changed there about 10 years ago. I mentioned in a previous video about the illness I had. That was a catalyst for me. When I got better from the illness, then I started looking at, you know, my self-esteem and my confidence and stuff like that, you know. And I said to myself kind of, what would I like to be in life, you know, and what could I do if I could do it, and what would I have to do, and all those different things. And I started setting out a series of steps, you know. So I mentioned in previous videos about the mind movie and stuff like that, and about our thoughts and that. They're all at the base of low self-esteem issues. So I started building up a new picture for myself of who I wanted to be and what did I want to do with my life, you know. And what was possible, and, you know, what could I do with what I had right there and then, do you know what I mean, with now, rather than waiting for everything to be perfect. Because I found with low self-esteem, you're waiting for things to be perfect before you act or to change anything, you know. I also discovered that, you know, we're feeling better than worse than somebody else. And they're just thoughts. You know, none of us are actually better than anybody else. We're unique beings. We're not even equal, because the sexes have different strengths and abilities, you know. So you'll never be equal to anyone either, but you'll be unique. And if you can celebrate yourself as a unique being, you know, and stop comparing yourself to other people, you know. So a lot of the work I did on self-esteem was doing stuff like that. Now, I've quite a lot written in the book about this. And as I mentioned before, it's linked in with your core beliefs. It's linked in with your thoughts. It's linked in with your unmet needs. If you have low sense of self-esteem, you'll end up hanging out with any old company. You'll put up with any old shit. That's what I found. Do you know what I mean? You'll put up with people disrespecting you just so that you have company. And it's sad. You know, I got myself into so many situations over the years, you know, because my self-esteem, I just didn't feel good enough, and I wasn't able to speak up for myself, you know, and I got myself into many different situations that made me unhappy, very unhappy, you know. So I started working on it about 10 years ago, you know, and things are very different for me now. Like, I've very zero tolerance for anyone who disrespects me now, you know. So it's an interesting thing to work on, your self-esteem. I also noticed that it's at the heart of everything. It's if you've got depression, or if you've got anxiety or fears and phobias and stuff like that, if you've got addictions and stuff like that, you know, self-esteem issues will be in there at the base of some of them as well, you know. So, you know, it's like picking the seam on a garment or something like that. Everything's connected to everything else. Do you know what I mean? Once you start working on one thing, you're going to affect something else as well, you know? So I think I've said enough about this. Let me see. If you want to start working on your self-esteem now, identify where you're putting yourself into roles. You know, where's your work tied up? If you're a parent or if you're working in a job, if you're with a partner or something like that, is your work tied up with that? Is your work tied up with your car or your house? Do you think you're something because you have these things? And what happens? Just ask yourself this question, you know. It's interesting. If you want to look at it as an interesting point of view, you know, where's your work tied up? What happens if these things go? You know, say you're a parent and your children leave. They grow up and leave and suddenly you're lost. You've got empty nest syndrome, you know. Who are you now? You know, who are you if your car is gone or your house? Who are you if you haven't got a job, you know? So building your self-esteem is about building up a story about yourself without these things. So, you know, things will come and go. People come and go out of your life, you know. Situations change. But, you know, when you build up your self-esteem, you're there in the middle of it all. You're like a strong pillar, you know, of uniqueness. That's you. Who are you with all these things gone? Who are you if you have them and who are you if you're not? Stop comparing your work to others as well. Just because someone else has something, you don't know their journey or what it took for them to get where they are, you know. So stop comparing yourself. You want to build your self-esteem. Stop comparing yourself and just start doing the best you can with what you have and celebrating your unique story. You know, you don't have to be like anybody else, you know. Just be yourself in this, you know. So that's just two things to think about anyway. I'll just have a look here in my book. I'm losing it here. What else have we got? Find things you like about yourself. Practice doing things you love, you know. Don't tie up your worth in people or external things. Find out who you are without these things. This is what I have in my book, you know. Stop judging yourself. You're doing the best you can with what you know now. And when you know better, you'll do better, you know. What else have I got? Accept responsibility for the part you're playing in all these things. You know, too many of us, we're blaming everybody else. And yes, people can treat us like shit as well, you know, but accept the part you're playing, you know. If you've got low self-esteem, you're broadcasting out to the world that you're not good enough. And you're going to start drawing people to you that are going to prove that to you. People are like mirrors. They're going to mirror back that deep inner belief in you that you're not good enough. And I know that's awful, but if you accept the part you play, you know, we only get treated the way we allow others to treat us, you know, and we can moan and complain after. But we need to stand up for ourselves, you know, keep safe, obviously. Some people you just can't stand up to. I learned that too. Some people you just can't stand up to. You just can't speak your mind. You're better off without them in a way, which is horrible. But, you know, life is hard for people. I've been in all sorts of situations myself, you know. Write down with the different roles you're identified with as well, you know. Like, who do you think you are, you know, and who do you want to be? You know, all these things. Anyway, I have a lot more in the book than I can put in the video. I don't want to be boring people. I know people don't like watching long videos, you know, nowadays. They don't seem to anyway, you know. But anyway, if you have any questions or anything like that, if you've read the book and you want to give me any feedback about it, if anyone wants to give me a review on Amazon, I'd be absolutely thrilled. I'd really appreciate that. In exchange for a review, I'll do a distance healing for you. I do Reiki healing by distance if you want. If you want to do a review for me, I'll send you a distance healing Reiki for yourself or anybody you want. Or I read a book called The Emotion Code there a good bit back last year. And I'm not a practitioner in it yet, but I've done a lot of it. I've done a lot of stuff to get experience with friends and family. So if anyone wants to get an emotional code clear emotional baggage and stuff that's holding you back, I'll do one of those for you. If you give me permission to do it, just let me know privately. Just send a private message to me. You can do it on Facebook. You can send a private message to me at paulosullivan1@gmail.com. Or you can check out my website. It's paulosullivan.com. So if you want to send me a private message, let me know if you've done a review. I think Amazon, it's 20 words or something like that. And it has to be a verified purchase. And just let me know if you do a review, and then I can just check that it's gone through, and we can arrange privately to do that if you want that done for you, you know. Anyway, thanks for listening and watching. Thanks for comments and feedback and messages I'm getting and the general support. Thanks. People are telling me how this is helping them. I'm delighted. That's something that has happened to me, and I've been able to turn it around, making my life a little bit better and happier. And that I'm actually helping other people to feel better and happier as well because of something I wrote. So thank you all for all your support. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye now.